Have you ever wondered why there are no snow globes for sale in Disney theme parks? Believe it or not, it had to do with September 11th and a weird coincidence with a Disney parade. You don't want to miss this. And recently, we heard from one of our listeners, Ben Junkie, who had a great question for us. He writes, in the early 2000s, I was a huge collector of Disney snow globes. I still have and treasure each one of them today, but I always wondered why Disney stopped making them, or if I was the only one buying them. I think that's a great question. Jim, do you know anything about snow globes?
Oy. Yeah, I do. To be honest, this story dates back to August of 2006, which is when news broke around the globe about an Al Qaeda plot to smuggle liquid explosives aboard a transatlantic flight. In this case, it was a plane leaving London headed for Canada. And the plan was to bring the chemical components of a bomb aboard a flight and inside of innocent looking sports drink bottles.
Okay, which I mean, given the wild colors of some of those sports beverages, I mean, I think it would probably be a perfect cover for those chemicals, unfortunately.
Yeah, anyway, the plan was that once the plane was over the Atlantic, the bomber was to have gotten up out of their seat, taken all of these sports drink bottles with him to the John, and then once the door was closed, mix all those chemicals up in the bathroom sink and then ignite them. Anyway, luckily, the Brits got wind of this plot and intercepted the would-be flyers en route to the airport. And the TSA, after learning of this plan, decreed that from here on in, um, passengers would be severely limited with the amount of fluid that any one person could bring aboard a plane. And that's fluids, whether or not they're in, your hand sanitizer or your drink bottle or your souvenir snow globe.
Yeah, which I'm assuming made it pretty difficult then for people who are coming back from their Walt Disney World or, Disney vacations to bring a snow globe home with them, right?
Yeah, I mean, face it, this something that delicate, that expensive, you're not going to put in your luggage, and hope to God that it doesn't get bounced on the tarmac. Typically what people would do is they would they'd make them carry on items. They'd bring them aboard and put them in the overhead. But as of the late summer, early fall of 2006, this was no longer allowed, which again impacted Disney's decisions when it came to ordering merch.
And what really complicated the situation was that Disney had a snow globe parade that was running through the Magic Kingdom in Florida about the same time, right, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the Share a Dream Come True parade, which debuted in Orlando as part of the company's 100 Years of Magic celebration. And what was interesting about this parade, Lauren, is that the the Disney walk around characters on as they rode on this float stood under giant faux snow globes. So, the notion is you'd look and there's Mickey or there's, the princesses or whatever, on a float that recreated the look of a snow globe. And again, this was supposed to be part of a year-long celebration that kicked off at the parks on October 1st, 2001.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole world changed just like 3 weeks before that. Like, that was 9/11.
Yeah, which was a very strange day at the Disney parks. I've gotten over the years to talk to a number of cast members who were working that day at Walt Disney World and to a lesser extent Disneyland, because you remember this happened at 9 in the morning. So Disneyland wasn't really open. Whereas, the parks in Florida were when this all went down. And cast members working at the Kingdom that day have told me about how they were down in the break room in the Utilidor when the second plane struck the towers, and how just seconds after that every manager's pager went off simultaneously.
And that's nine. Everybody was in the park, right?
Yeah. Well, again, you have a lot of people who are paying attention to touring plans, who told them to get there, write it open. So, and again, I've gotten to talk to a number of folks who were in the Magic Kingdom that morning. And what they talked about first was that, how you're in Disney and, you can't escape that area of music. It's everywhere. And that suddenly it went off, and so there's this, now for the first time you can hear, your own footsteps in the Magic Kingdom, or you can hear, the wheels, on the trolley moving, and it's like, what just happened?
That's
And
eerie.
then this announcement comes over the park's PA system, which says, due to circumstances beyond our control, the Magic Kingdom is now closed. Please follow the directions of the nearest cast member. And that's it, Lauren.
Yeah. It sounds eerie and scary. I can't even imagine that. But, like, how did people react to that announcement?
Well, almost everyone immediately complied, and the cast members quietly and efficiently offloaded every attraction, escorted guests out of shops and restaurants, and then locked the doors behind them. And then once all the guests were out on the street, starting at the farthest corners of the parks, this line of cast members, and again, it just they filled the entire street. They just began walking toward the guests and effectively swept them from the farthest point of the park down to Main Street and then out the gates.
So, people had to have questions. What did the cast members tell the guests about what was going on? Like, why the park was being closed? Like, why are they being pushed nearly physically to the exits?
Well, again, what was kind of interesting is by that point, word had come down from management to the effect of cast members were not to volunteer any information about what was going on in New York City or Washington, D.C., unless they were specifically asked about it by a guest. And even then, they were supposed to be somewhat circumspect about the details. And it's worth noting here, Lauren, that according, again, to the cast members that I've gotten to interview after the fact about what happened in the parks on 9/11, that most of the guests did not ask for details. They just knew that if the Magic Kingdom were suddenly closing like this, that something really really big and something really really bad must have just happened. And think about it, these people are on vacation, and that vacation has now obviously just been ruined. Well, in a situation like that, the specifics can wait till you get back to the hotel room.
Yeah, and speaking of specifics, we were just talking about the a Dream Come True parade, which, if I'm remembering correctly, all of those parade floats were shaped like snow globes. More to the point, that after you watched this parade at Magic Kingdom, you could then walk straight into the Emporium and buy a miniature version of each of these parade floats, which then had a really for real snow globe on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of an intriguing idea of designing a parade for the Disney theme parks from the get-go that had this huge merchandise component.
But I'm assuming that 9/11 tripped up the launch of the year's 100 Years of Magic celebration, because what was going on in the world clearly was not magical.
Oh no, 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 no. I mean, remember that all civilian air traffic was grounded in the US and Canada for 2 days after the attack. And then for the weeks that followed, understandably, people were really, really reluctant to get on planes, which is why it wasn't until weeks later that Disney Parks and Resorts announced that they would now launch their 100 Years of Magic celebration, which again, the Share a Dream Come True parade was a huge component of, would now launch on December 5th, 2001, which, by the way, was the actual 100th anniversary of Walt Disney's birthday.
Okay, but you were just talking about what happened in August of 2006 when Al Qaeda tried to take down the plane using, the liquid explosives in a Gatorade bottle or something, which then resulted in people, being really restricted when it came to the amount of liquid that they could bring on a plane. I mean, that had to impact the share a dream come true, parade plans. I mean, more importantly, the sales of the snow globes that were just those little miniature replicas of the parade floats, right?
Well, now where this gets interesting, Lauren, is that Disney likes to get as much mileage as possible out of the parades that it builds for its park. So the Share a Dream Come True parade ran in the Magic Kingdom as it was originally designed from December of 2001 through April of 2004, which it's kind of ironic that we spent so much time on today's show talking about Disney princesses because the float that actually got pulled out of Share a Dream Come True in April of 2004, that was the Disney Princess float.
What? Really? Why?
Well, okay. This unit featured Cinderella, Prince Charming, and the fairy godmother under one snow globe. The Belle and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast under another, and finally Ariel and Prince Eric from Disney's Little Mermaid under another. So it was Lollapalooza Disney Princess style.
Princess Palooza.
Princess
but
Palooza. There we go.
but this float got pulled from the Park Share Dream Come True parade. And why though?
Okay, this is a sad story. Um, this Disney Princess float was just entering the Magic Kingdom from backstage, and the access road. It's right next to what was Splash Mountain, what is now Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and so out ahead of the Disney Princess float and the Share a Dream Come True parade. There's a Disney cast member called Javier Cruz. He's walking and he's an experienced guy. He's worked for the company for 8 years at this point, and he's dressed as Pluto. And like I said, he's walking in front of the Disney Princess unit in the Share a Dreams Come True parade, and he either tripped or fell down, or nobody knows exactly what happened, but he drops from sight in front of this parade float. And the driver, not his fault, but the driver doesn't see what happened to Javier and keeps rolling down. And it's I want to stress here, it's a fairly steep incline coming out of from backstage over the train tracks into Frontierland. So he keeps moving, and then
Like, did it run him over? Like, was he all right? Like, was he okay?
no, no, he was in fact run over, and Javier eventually died from his injuries. And out of respect to the Cruz family, Disney never allowed that version of this parade float to ever re-enter the Magic Kingdom ever again. They pulled out of storage that theme park's old Christmas or castle theme parade. You've seen this unit in the the Mickey's Very Merry Parade. I mean, Disney's used it forever, and that then became the new home of the Disney princesses in the Share a Dream Come True parade.
Okay. So, how long did the parade actually end up running then in Magic Kingdom?
Well, through January of 2014, though by this point it had a couple of different names. In 2006, it was renamed the Disney Dreams Come True Parade.
Which is not to be confused with the Disney Dreams That Soar drone show that just debuted in Disney Springs.
This is true. And then in 2009, this very same daytime parade was renamed the Celebrated Dream Come True Parade. Okay, one last weird little bend on this story. Remember how we were talking about how that Al Qaeda plot to bring liquid explosives aboard a plane? That news broke on August 9th, 2006. Now, the very next day, August 10th, 2006, A revised version of the Share a Dreams Come True parade began rolling through the Magic Kingdom. And in this revised version of the parade, every single one of those oversized acrylic snow globes that had previously encased all those, Disney cast members, they'd been removed. So was that a coincidence? Maybe.
I don't know, Jim, but I do love all these weird behind the scenes stories that you share about the parks and merch, and I want that too. I really do.